So, welcome once again. So, I will take you through the topic called reinvention, how it is essential when we are living in a world where we are driven by constant disruptions. Disruptions will be technological, geopolitical, and so it exactly matches with the theme of the events called tessellations of the time. So, reinvention, it is not that we find something new, but it has been existing for ages, for maybe thousands of years. Let's see how it connects to a regular life. Let's see the scene of Virupakshappa. Do you remember the great epic? When we start remembering the great epic, we remember about two major conversations between one of the greatest strategist what we have seen and his mentee, right? The mentee, the great warrior, was about to drop his arms by looking at his kins, the relatives, the teachers, are all on the other side of the battle. He was so concerned, what I am doing here? So he was disturbed. He started dropping his arms. Then the role of the tested mentee comes into play, the great charioteer, the great strategist. He says, look at your longer goals. What is your purpose? What you are doing here? Are you forgetting your real purpose? That is where the whispering of that great charioteer makes him to realize he has to get unstuck from what he was looking about the past. Then he starts reinventing himself to look at the longer purpose, to fight out that battle. Now you know the outcome of the battle finally. Moving on to the next scenario, look at this. This screen talks about the process of metamorphosis. The butterfly becoming so colorful from a caterpillar which eats the dirt and the soil, then it gets moves into a colorful butterfly. It has its own process, right? It goes through the terrible process. It has to be not dictated or supported or aided by the environment. It's as natural as we breathe every day. It gets itself unstuck, then it starts moving into the colorful world, looking for the nectar which we all enjoy. But this is not just a simple example about how our reinvention or a metamorphosis, which is really a transformation from one level to the next level, which is higher on the levels. Our life also, if you look at the childhood, the school days, the college days, or the profession where we join, our challenges keep coming. It is not one time a butterfly which goes through the metamorphosis. We keep on going through this metamorphosis on an ongoing basis. So keep in mind, our life, though it is one, we go through the multiple metamorphosis process to transform ourselves into butterfly as a successful people every time, every part of the life. My own story I want to share, coming from a normal town, sleeping town, remote, or if I say no remote, take it as a mainstream onto the highway. When I started realizing, when my father used to come back from the work, I used to see him, how much effort has gone into the facility where he works. The work environment, not really the human resource so-called today, where we have a very dynamic way of working with the people, right? It was more of a command and control. He used to work on multiple departments. The demand was more and more on the productivity. Then he has to learn. Today, what we have the facility on a learning pace, right? It is so quick, so much technology available. The information is available on hand. So when I used to look at my father, I used to say, I am not going to get stuck like this. I have to be unstuck. That is where my real learning started at home. How my parents are making us to feel good, how we can unstuck ourselves. Then the other process started where you go out from the place where you live in. For me, the aha moment was when I joined a multinational organization where we got into the multicultural environment, learning from the people, exposed to the global environment, we exposed to the whole big world. That is where the realization happens. It is good that we get unstuck. The unstuck also helps you to create lot of network who acts as an informal signal provider, where there also you start reinventing yourself, what is next for you. Then the most important, reinvent. What did I do reinvent? You remember the COVID-19 when we were going through the 2020? The most of the world pressed pause. I pressed the play button where I started learning myself. Some of the programs like crafting your career, how to write a book, coaching through the process for the design thinking and the innovation. I was glad enough to say I had a good coach and mentors that resulted into releasing the new book called Unboxing Creativity. So if you look at the key takeaway from message, you learn from the environment, constantly keep yourself reinventing, looking at the signals, what it is throwing at you. I think most of the management students or the engineering students have seen these companies, right? If you look at this slide, how many of them are existing today? Very few, hardly. Look at the top corner. There is an organization called Blockbuster, right? Have you heard about this customer or a vendor called Blockbuster? He's a competitor for Netflix. Before Netflix, which we enjoy every day today, became so impressive on their performance, delivery, customer focus, the whole industry was dominated by Blockbuster, where every Friday the people used to go there around. It was a physical store, pick up the DVD, the movie, what they want to pick up. But the vendor, the Blockbuster, started giving a pinch to their customers, where they have to pay the late charges for the DVD, what they carry for watching out. They didn't realize there was an alternative competitor was already brewing up called Netflix. Netflix focused the whole shift from physical store, everything scalable, no physical store, mail delivery system. Then it started streaming live those movies of choice. Then it started with the release of their own content creation, then the AI. So it became so user friendly. So at some point of time, Blockbuster has to shut his shop. So what we learn out of this is, while the Blockbuster continue to live in their arrogance, the competitor Netflix continue to drive the innovation, reinventing itself as the technology evolved. This is one side of the story on what happens when you don't reinvent yourself, knowing the circumstances. The most beautiful. If you look at this slide, these are the long surviving organizations what any enterprises would really want to enjoy, right? Previous slide we saw about how the most of the companies failed. Here I see the companies which can go more than 200, 230 years. I'm glad to see some of the Indian companies here. I will take one example of the company called Rexroth, which is 230 years old. German-based company, started reinventing from it started where it was doing the water energy-based forging applications. It started reinventing itself into the industrial hydraulic solution provider, high-tech solution provider, then the automation company, then the IoT, then it became electro-hydraulics, then the portfolio got expanded, it became part of the Bosch group. It continues to maintain its market leadership today across the domain into the hydraulics. It can be industrial hydraulics, or it can be a mobile hydraulics, or into the automation domain. This is the true story where the company kept on embracing the technology, disrupting itself, reinventing itself, serving the organizations and the humanity. These are the lessons which make us to feel, if these are all can happen, let's reflect back to one of the movie which we saw, the Titanic. Do you know why did the Titanic sunk? We have seen this movie from the point of entertainment. If you look at the reality, it gives us a lot of lessons from the point of the management story. The Titanic sunk when it was built. The people believed this ship is unsinkable. The captain was so experienced, they believed he can never make this ship going to be sink because he has averted many of the accidents which would have happened. That was the success he carried. But what happened is, in the process, they ignored a lot of the signals coming from the other ships or the operators to receive that there is iceberg coming up in the next few destinations or a few nautical miles. They were ignoring the safety drills which they were supposed to start their ship cruise starting from the shore. They ignored the binoculars which are needed to look around when you are on a navigation. It was kept locked into the drawer. So the message out of this slide is that Titanic sunk is the ignorance of being successful forever is not going to help on a long term. If you have any patent that is not going to be serve us for a long term, they are not perpetual. If you say this is how I have been working, that is not going to help you to survive and grow. The arrogance of success, believing that it's going to be permanent, that is not going to help us to be a surviving and growing for us. Now comes you people lot. I can see a lot of next generation coming up. Most of you are almost on the doorstep of getting into the corporate, or you are about to get into the corporate or your own entrepreneurship. What happens is, when you start getting into your workspace, you start getting to work with multi-generational environment where you have a Gen X, you have Gen Y, and your own new generation comes into play. There is going to be a lot of gaps into there, the way you expect, the way the leadership behave, the way the communication is expected out of the people who are already working, or the way you work. The new generation brings a lot of tech-savvy solutions. They are fast learners. They bring the technology so fast. They don't have what you say, so-called patients to wait for ever decisions. They want a quick decisions. They want a work-life balance, right? This is where how you yourself reinvent when you get into that environment. Look at that, how it is going to help you. When you want to reinvent yourself on an ongoing basis, it carries three fundamental elements. Anticipate the change, look for the weak signal around you. From where you get this, go for the multiple resources. Design the change. What design you want to carry? When you want to reinvent yourself, what are those design changes? How do you design it? Who are your stakeholders? When you start design changes to be implemented, then a process to implement those change. So when you start implementing those change, you need to do the change management. That's going to be the most critical element to make this change management to be successful. So when you have these three elements, like anticipating the change, designing the change, and implementing the change, the most important success is how the whole mindset is working. The mindset about the reinvention starts with the individuals. Am I reinventing myself? It starts with questioning myself. The collective behavior of individuals lead to the culture. Is there a culture of reinvention along the society where I live, or the company where I work, or my own group? Then comes the whole system into the organization or the environment. Is there a reinvention management system available? So when you put this all system together, reinvention going to be successful for all of us. It doesn't matter what stage we are in. Reinvention way forward. If you ask me what is the way forward, every individual has their own aspirations. What is my goal? What is my purpose? All your way forward gets driven by how you want to drive your message to yourself. It starts with, what is there one thing I want to focus on making me to reinvent or reinvent myself? From which point I need to unstuck myself? Is it driving my purpose for my goal, what I want to achieve? Look at this. This is crafted by your own purpose, your own resilience, your own experience. If you ask me today, what is my purpose? I want to support the generation who wants to nurture their career, support them into their reinvention program, and make them as a successful emerging leader. How about you? How do you want to drive your own purpose into the life? If you look at this, if I am in your place, I would ask, I don't wait for the disruption like COVID or a pandemic or a AI to reinvent myself. I don't wait for the world to shape me. Instead of that, I shape the future of myself before the future start putting pressure on me. Reinvention is not going to happen only once. It is an ongoing basis. Reinvention keeps on happening. If you ask me to keep, what is the key message? To make yourself a reinvention friendly person, it doesn't matter where you are in. You will be reinventing yourself. You will be innovating yourself. You will be working on a principle of design thinking. The formula RID makes you more successful. With this, I say, thank you very much. Thanks for your listening.